National Electrical Code Section 225.30 requires that the service disconnecting means be located at a readily accessible location outside or inside the building, where it is readily visible to and accessible to the fire department and other authorized personnel. American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, C12.1, which is the National Electric Meter Code, Section 3.21 states that the meter socket or enclosure shall be readily accessible to authorized personnel for maintenance, testing, and replacement. Section 4.41 requires that the meter socket or enclosure shall be located in a dry, well-ventilated location, protected from the elements and other hazards. Local power companies may have additional requirements for meter location. These requirements can include proximity to the point of service connection, avoidance of hazardous areas, for example wet locations, areas with flammable materials, and accessibility for meter reading and maintenance. The specific location of the meter within a retail store environment is not typically standardized, but it should be easily accessible for meter reading and maintenance, protected from unauthorized access and tampering, located in a secure and dry area, and located in a central location to minimize the length of wiring runs. While there is no specific national standard or code that mandates the exact location of the KYZ power meter in a retail store environment, the National Electrical Code, ANSI C12.1, and local power company regulations provide general guidelines for meter location. Ultimately, the best location for the meter should be determined by the electrical contractor in consultation with the store manager and local power company, taking into account the specific requirements and conditions of the establishment. Let's delve deeper into the National Electrical Code requirements. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is a comprehensive set of standards that outlines safe electrical practices. While it doesn't explicitly dictate the location of a KYZ power meter in a retail setting, it provides crucial guidelines that influence its placement. One key aspect is accessibility. The NEC mandates that service disconnecting means must be readily accessible. This means the meter shouldn't be hidden behind locked doors, buried underground, or placed in any location that would hinder quick access during emergencies or for routine maintenance. Visibility is another important consideration. The NEC emphasizes that the service disconnecting means should be readily visible to authorized personnel, including firefighters. This ensures that in case of a fire or other emergency, first responders can quickly locate and disconnect the power supply to the building. Now let's move on to the American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, C12.1. This standard, also known as the National Electric Meter Code, provides specific requirements for electric meters. Section 3.21 focuses on accessibility for authorized personnel. It states that the meter socket or enclosure must be readily accessible for maintenance, testing, and replacement. This means that the meter should be placed in a location where qualified technicians can easily perform necessary tasks without encountering obstacles or hazard. Section 4.41 addresses environmental conditions. It mandates that the meter socket or enclosure must be located in a dry, well-ventilated location, protected from the elements and other hazards. This is crucial to prevent corrosion, moisture damage, and other issues that can affect the meter's accuracy and lifespan. Now, let's consider the role of local power companies. Local power companies often have their own specific requirements for meter location, which may go beyond the national standards. Firstly, proximity to the point of service connection is a common requirement. Power companies often prefer meters to be located close to where the electrical service enters the building. This minimizes the length of wiring runs and reduces the potential for voltage drop. Secondly, avoidance of hazardous areas is another key consideration. Power companies typically prohibit meters from being placed in wet locations, areas with flammable materials, or other environments that could pose a safety risk. Thirdly, accessibility for meter reading and maintenance is paramount. Power companies need to be able to easily access meters to read consumption data and perform routine maintenance tasks. This means the meter should be placed in a location that is easily accessible to meter readers and technicians. Now let's discuss industry best practices. While national standards and local regulations provide a framework for meter location, industry best practices offer additional guidance to ensure optimal performance and safety. Firstly, ease of accessibility is crucial. The meter should be placed in a location that is easily accessible for meter reading and maintenance. This minimizes the time and effort required to perform these tasks. Secondly, protection from unauthorized access and tampering is essential. The meter should be placed in a secure location where it is not easily accessible to unauthorized personnel. This helps to prevent theft of electricity and other forms of tampering. Thirdly, a dry environment is important. The meter should be located in a dry area to prevent corrosion and moisture damage. This helps to ensure the meter's accuracy and lifespan. Fourthly, a central location is beneficial. The meter should be located in a central location to minimize the length of wiring runs. This reduces the potential for voltage drop and improves the overall efficiency of the electrical system. In conclusion, while there is no single national standard that dictates the exact location of a KYZ power meter in a retail store environment, the NEC, ANSI C12.1, and local power company regulations provide important guidelines to follow. Ultimately, the best location for the meter should be determined by the electrical contractor in consultation with the store manager and local power company, taking into account the specific requirements and conditions of the establishment. Here are some additional factors to consider when determining the optimal location for a KYZ power meter in a retail setting. Firstly, aesthetics should be considered. While functionality and safety are paramount, the meter's location should also be aesthetically pleasing and not detract from the overall appearance of the store. Secondly, future expansion should be taken into account. The meter should be located in a way that allows for future expansion of the electrical system without requiring major relocation of the meter. Thirdly, coordination with other building systems is important. The meter's location should be coordinated with other building systems such as HVAC and plumbing to avoid conflicts and ensure proper integration. Fourthly, documentation is essential. The meter's location should be clearly documented in the building's electrical plans and records. This helps to ensure that the meter can be easily located in the future for maintenance and other purposes. By carefully considering these factors, electrical contractors can ensure that KYZ power meters are located in a safe, accessible, and efficient manner in retail store environments. In addition to the codes and standards we've already discussed, it's also worth noting that some states and municipalities may have their own specific regulations regarding the location of electrical meters. It's important to check with the local authorities to ensure compliance with all applicable requirements. For example, some jurisdictions may require meters to be located a certain distance from sidewalks or other public areas. Others may have specific requirements regarding the height at which meters must be mounted. These local regulations can vary widely, so it's essential to do your research and ensure that you're following all applicable rules. Furthermore, it's important to remember that the specific requirements for meter location can also depend on the type of electrical service being provided. For example, the requirements for a single-phase service may be different from those for a three-phase service. Similarly, the requirements for an underground service may be different from those for an overhead service. Therefore, it's crucial to consult with the local power company and electrical inspector to determine the specific requirements for your particular situation. When selecting a location for a KYZ power meter, it's also important to consider the potential for vandalism or theft. Meters that are located in easily accessible areas are more vulnerable to tampering. Therefore, it's often advisable to locate meters in secure areas, such as locked rooms or behind fences. In addition, it's important to ensure that the meter is properly grounded to prevent electrical shock hazards. The grounding system should be installed in accordance with the National Electrical Code and all applicable local regulations. Regular inspections and maintenance are also essential to ensure the continued safe and reliable operation of the meter. Meters should be inspected periodically for signs of damage or wear. Any problems should be addressed promptly by a qualified electrician. By following these guidelines, you can help to ensure that KYZ power meters are located and maintained in a safe and efficient manner. Remember, safety should always be the top priority, when working with electricity. If you're not comfortable performing any electrical work yourself, it's always best to hire a qualified electrician. When considering the location of a KYZ meter, you should also think about the long-term maintenance and accessibility of the equipment. While a particular spot might seem convenient during the initial installation, it could present challenges down the road when maintenance or repairs are needed. For instance, if the meter is placed in a cramped or difficult-to-reach area, technicians might have trouble accessing it for routine checks or emergency repairs. This could lead to delays in restoring power or resolving any issues with the meter. Therefore, it's important to choose a location that allows for easy access and sufficient workspace for maintenance personnel. This might involve ensuring adequate lighting, clear pathways, and enough room to maneuver tools and equipment. Additionally, consider the potential for future upgrades or replacements. As technology advances, it's possible that the meter will need to be upgraded or replaced with the newer model. In such cases, having a readily accessible location can simplify the process and minimize any disruptions to the store's operations. Another important aspect to consider is the environmental conditions surrounding the meter. As mentioned earlier, the ANSI C12.1 standard requires that the meter be located in a dry, well-ventilated area protected from the elements. This is crucial to prevent corrosion, moisture damage, and other issues that can affect the meter's accuracy and lifespan. Therefore, avoid placing the meter in areas that are prone to flooding, leaks, or excessive humidity. Also, ensure that the location is adequately ventilated to prevent overheating, especially in warmer climates. In addition to environmental factors, it's also important to consider the potential for physical damage to the meter. For example, if the meter is located in an area where there is heavy foot traffic or where equipment is frequently moved around, it could be at risk of being bumped or struck. This could lead to damage to the meter's casing or internal components, which could affect its accuracy or even render it unusable. To prevent physical damage, consider placing the meter in a protected location, such as behind a barrier or in a recessed enclosure. Also, ensure that the area around the meter is kept clear of any obstructions that could pose a hazard. Furthermore, it's important to consider the potential for electromagnetic interference, or EMI, to affect the meter's performance. EMI can be caused by a variety of sources, such as nearby electrical equipment, radio transmitters, and even lightning strikes. EMI can interfere with the meter's ability to accurately measure and record electrical consumption. To minimize the risk of EMI, avoid placing the meter near any potential sources of interference. Also, consider using shielded cables and enclosures to protect the meter from EMI. In addition to these technical considerations, it's also important to communicate effectively with all stakeholders involved in the project, including the store manager, the electrical contractor, and the local power company. Clear communication can help to ensure that everyone is on the same page and that any potential issues are addressed proactively. For example, before finalizing the meter's location, it's a good idea to discuss the plans with the store manager to get their input and address any concerns they may have. Similarly, it's important to coordinate with the electrical contractor to ensure that the location is feasible and that all necessary electrical connections can be made safely and efficiently. Finally, it's essential to consult with the local power company to ensure that the location meets their requirements and that all necessary permits and approvals are obtained. By working together and communicating effectively, you can help to ensure that the meter is located in a way that meets the needs of all parties involved and that the project is completed successfully. In summary, determining the optimal location for a KYZ power meter in a retail store environment requires careful consideration of a variety of factors, including national and local codes, industry best practices, environmental conditions, security concerns, and communication with stakeholders. By taking all of these factors into account, you can help to ensure that the meter is located in a way that is safe, accessible, efficient, and meets the needs of all parties involved. And remember, when in doubt, it's always best to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer to get their professional advice.